St. George, Utah was a call for St. George to come and get the last of the dragons. Maybe that's why people are still seeing stuff down there in St. George.
I think 100% there's going to be some moment where, like, I'm expecting before the second coming, it's going to shift. Like, the world is going to shift. People are going to have powers. People are going to start getting translated.
If dinosaurs were dragons and they lived with people, then it takes away the evolution fairy tale. Elder Packer said, surely no one with reverence for God could believe that his children evolved from slime or reptiles. It's very clear in the doctrine. Eve was the mother of all living, and Adam was the first man. I mean, the scriptures say it. It doesn't mince words. Let's talk about some dragons. I like dragons. Dragons are fun. Let's compare dragons to dinosaurs. And here is the slide to do that. This is called the Dracorex hogwartsia over to the left. And sorry, I didn't get it centered in the picture, but if you notice, it's got horns and things all over it. It looks a whole lot like a dragon. And then these bones at the bottom of this is actually a DVD someone created called Dragons or Dinosaurs. This is a dinosaur skeleton. And if you notice the dragon at the top, look how similar they actually look. So what we've got is we've got these modern scientists who are pulling the bones out of the ground. And we honestly don't know how they looked. There's no skin. In very few rare cases, there's a little bit of skin. But they're piecing these bones together and doing the best they can. But we've got pink and orange dinosaurs, guys. And that they literally will paint them pink and orange because they're like, we don't know. We have orange tree frogs and green, different colored tree frogs. So they're like, who knows? And we don't know about cartilage as well. So like the human skull has our nose is pure cartilage. So when you see a skull, there's just a big hole there. In addition, I've got some tortoises in my backyard, and the tortoise skeleton just shows the arms, but our tortoises have these big cartilage like spikes. So if you notice, this dragon has these big spikes on its head. If they fossilize, we would never know because it decomposes. In addition, a shark is made of purely cartilage except for their teeth. So when a shark dies, the only thing you find is its teeth. So we find the megalodon teeth. So now that brings me to this example of this skull that an alien, if an alien were to find it, or even a scientist, how would you reconstruct this? Would you think this skull is this scary monster? Would you realize it's just a hippopotamus skull? Right? And then here's another skull of what some might think is a cyclops. Is this just a crazy, scary cyclops? Or is this just an elephant skull? So what I'm saying is that the scientists are doing the best they can. They really are. There's so many good scientists out there. And I don't want to like group all scientists in this, like they're trying to lead us down a bad path, because there's so many that are just following the narrative, and so many that are trying their best. So they look so similar, these dragons. And so that's why I think what a dragon is a dinosaur. Dragon equals dinosaur. Here's St. George, like you mentioned. He's famous for slaying a dragon. He has so many statues in Europe. I couldn't even show you all of them. They're in the town square. They're in the cathedrals.
I just had a thought. Maybe the last of the dinosaurs, at least in Utah, are down in St. George, Utah.
Why St. George, David?
Maybe he came over here and hung out for a little bit, slaying dragons. I don't know.
Oh, because it's named after St. George. Well, this is really weird. And after I've spoken on this a couple times, I've had people come up to me and tell me their friend saw something. As weird as that might sound, and sorry for spelling cathedral so wrong. But I've had people say, like, down in southern Utah, way out in Beryl, if you know where Beryl is, it's by like Enterprise, which is, I think, where Elder Holland was raised, or he's kind of from St. George. I mean, there we can go into that stuff. I mean, there's some pictures, and there's some pictures of some like
I
pterodactyls.
just got it. It's a clue. It's a clue. St. George, Utah was a call for St. George to come and get the last of the dragons. Maybe that's why people are still seeing stuff down there in St. George.
You know what else?
Oh man,
St. George looks like the mountains they always fight on in Dragon Ball Z, and they have dinosaurs in Dragon Ball Z. Think about it. That's where the final battle against like the Antichrist is going to be, like in St. George, Utah, on top of these Dragon Ball Z mountains.
These clues are serious. They're serious.
dude, we're going around a whole another tunnel.
This is how like sharp my teeth are, the way. Speaking of dragons, it's really
Oh, I have fangs too. Ooh, you got some fangs, my friend. Watch out, ladies. Yeah, so I'm just imagining this beacon under a rock that's like blinking, this blue light in like a cave down in St. George. Like it's all the last dragons. Oh my gosh, this is
and there was maybe there are dragons with the prophets from the North Country.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I'm like,
And so there's actually the other thing about dragons is there's different kinds of dragons. So they're not all just one animal because there's different kinds of dinosaurs, right? There could be a triceratops or a raptor, very different animal, but I believe they lumped them into one group, dragon. So this is a dragon bone actually hanging from the cathedral in Poland still to this day.
Is it a dinosaur bone?
And I don't know, and they haven't had it tested, or I don't know, but the interesting thing about Krakow, Poland is if you look into the history of it, they actually say that there was a dragon under the castle that was terrorizing the town and eating their sheep. And the king put out a reward for whoever could kill it. And it was a poor shoemaker that killed it. And he said, whoever kills it gets my daughter's hand in marriage. And so this poor shoemaker named Scuba, and I did something wrong with my slides here, and there was a picture under this of the statue in the town square. This was supposed to appear. Something's going on with my slides, but the ancient story Beowulf is it written in Old English. You can't hardly read it, right? But it talks of another dragon slayer who went out. Beowulf is the dragon slayer, and he ends up killing this dragon, but he dies later of his wounds, and he has a statue erected in his honor. We talked about the Gate of Babylon having dragons on it. This is a replica, I think, in Las Vegas. Had the two real animals, the lion and the ox, and then also, ta-da, the dragon. This one's a really interesting looking one with a horn on its head.
almost looks like a lion with a snake and scales on the side. Just kind of a skinnier head, though. Like a
it is wild. And here is the lion again that they depicted.
Yeah, so you have a lion-looking animal, but with a snake head, scales, and it just doesn't look like a typical lion. Definitely not a lion.
Yeah, so very interesting how they might have looked. Once we talked about the Chinese zodiac calendar, it has 11 real animals, including a snake and a dragon. And then today, the flag of Wales is still a dragon. The flag of Bhutan is also a dragon. Why would they have their flag representing their entire country? Or Wales is Wales a country? It's more of a province in the UK. So Marco Polo was famous in the 11th century for the 12th century, going to China. And he said the emperor of China had dragons pulling his chariots. And he spent a long time there and wrote his history. This is the bestiary that I told you I went and saw, where I had to wash my hands and turn each page. And this is an elephant I saw with something scary trying to eat it. Bestiary is a compendium of beasts. Any idea what language that is? Latin or
Italian, I think.
Italian? I tried to look it up. It said it was some ancient French or something, but it didn't translate it. There I was taking a look at this book. And you could see here to the left, there's elephant. To the right at the bottom, there's a horse and some elephants. I know they depicted their elephants a little bit odd, but they clearly have tusks and a trunk. But then there's these dragon paintings and depictions. And on the left, some have wings, some don't. Some actually have 4 legs. One even looks like a 2-headed. And now you have people over here feeding them like they're in caves. And one of them looks like a bird with a big, scary beak. So yeah, it's interesting.
So here's a question. Do you think that they're still around?
That is a very good question. So I need some pictures to answer that question, but I do have some pictures of some that I do think are around, but I only think they're around in the water. In very
A Loch Ness monster.
So I don't like the Loch Ness monster.
I don't think that one's real.
I do like Ogopogo, and I do like the Champ from Lake Champlain, Vermont. So only because the evidence is really scarce over it.
Do you think you could come back maybe on Zion Media and talk about that? Maybe show some of those photos and.
Oh yeah, I've got a video, and I've got other pictures. I got a picture that'll knock your socks off.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good. It came out in 2022. It's really, actually, David, that's the video you sent me, right? The same one.
Yeah, I have a second video, like to expound on the first one. So there's actually 2 videos there that we could show.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in the world. There is. I like that guy. I can just see Chad getting like his appetite's getting going off.
I want to see some of those. Like, I think 100% there's going to be some moment where, like, I'm expecting before the second coming, it's going to shift and it's going to be like an anime or something. That's what I'm expecting. Like, the world is going to shift. People are going to have powers. People are going to start getting translated, and it's going to be shocking. That's what I'm expecting.
It's going to get crazy, but it's going to be awesome. And living every day to the fullest and trying to be ready for something like that. This is the depiction of different types of dragon legends. So it's important to note that the Chinese dragon's different than maybe the European dragon. They're probably a different species. But look at this one in the very middle, the brown one with the wings. So look how it's walking. Does that not look like a raptor?
Looks like a raptor.
A small T-Rex. So this is really revealing. This year barely opened the Utah State Raptor State Park in Utah. And I was driving back from Moab this year, and I saw this sign. They put up a street sign that said Raptor State Park now open. So I'm like, sweet, I'm going in. We go in to check out. They have some dinosaur footprints. We drove the minivan over like some crazy terrain to get there. But we go in the visitor center, and they've got these pictures of Allosaurus. Now, no one knows what T-Rex used his little arms for, right? They're like, what are those dumb little arms for? He couldn't use them for anything. They're useless. And the Allosaurus had similar little arms, but an ostrich or an emu, because I actually used to have an emu, has these little wings. And if you find their fossil, their bones, they have little 1 or 2 fingers at the end of their appendages. And the painting and the depiction in the Utah State Park is Allosaurus has little wings now. I am not kidding you. I have pictures and video evidence. I'll bring the receipts. So really, one day the truth is going to come out. I promise you. One day everybody will know the dragons were dinosaurs.
You know, there's always been something that's bothered me about dinosaurs. And it's because there's something that's so, and this is going to sound weird, lame about them. It's like there's something that's off. It's plastic. It's lame. But what you're explaining, it's like, this makes sense. It's like, of course I didn't like the dinosaurs. My spirit's telling me that they're not called dinosaurs. Those are dragons, and they're making up some fake story for these things. And that was
it rings true to your spirit, right? You can feel it. It's so cool. And I didn't like science when I was in high school. I really didn't like science for some reason. And now I'm like obsessed over fossils and fossilization and water and rocks, because I'm like, wow, it's real. It's true. Yeah.
Dude, I'm sending out the signal. If dragons are real, I want God to give me the chance to fight one someday. Legit, like with a sword. Like it's in a movie or something. Like in the end times, Latter-day Chad has to fight the Watchers when they come in their spaceship, from the Book of Enoch, and a dragon. Possibly simultaneously.
They'll be riding on the dragon. No, man.
Or I I get the dragon and I ride the dragon to fight the alien fallen angels and their UFOs.
Dude, you got big plans ahead of you.
Because it's an inside joke because we were talking about the Michael B. Rush stuff about the Book of Enoch and how he thinks the Watchers were like terrestrial or celestial beings from another world that came here in spaceships, right? And that there's going to be some UFO hoax and that it's going to involve the Antichrist and stuff, right? And I think that's very possible. I don't know. But me and Trevor would get on this whole rabbit hole about how I have to prepare to train to fight the Watchers, and it's going to be this whole thing, and the Watchers are going to pretend that they're aliens and all this stuff. So now there's the Watchers and a dragon.
That's so cool. So this dictionary I have at home, it says dragons now rare. It's a Webster's Collegiate Dictionary from 1946. Kind of interesting. Some say it might be referring to the term dragon.
Can you go back real quick and just go right to where your cursor is and you see the word rare? Yeah, there we go. Now rare. Okay, cool. For those that maybe just need to see it a little closer. Continue.
A huge serpent, a fabulous animal, generally monstrous, winged, scaly serpent, lizard, or saurian. So why does this all matter again, right, guys? Like, we need to remember that we are created in the image of God. If dinosaurs were dragons and they lived with people, then it takes away the evolution fairy tale. And I'm talking about macroevolution. I know that there's change within our, our children are going to have different color hair. We adapt as we go. That's within our genetic code. But no dog has ever given birth to a cat. And it's never been observed by science, and it never will be, because God declared all animals reproduce after their kind, and they never transition. So Elder Packer said, surely no one with reverence for God could believe that his children evolved from slime or reptiles. So that just always hits me really hard.
Do you want to know a theory I've had about evolution?
Yeah.
Okay, on some level, so we don't know. We know that right now we have this thing called the New and Everlasting Covenant where Jesus comes and makes an atonement for us to be able to progress, right? But we don't know how that all began. Like, if you could hide to collab, where it's like talking about how if you could see the first God or whatever. So a theory I've had is that evolution is real, but it is the force of eternal intelligence progressing. And that it may take hold, an intelligence may take hold of matter. And it's not happening in the way that like scientists think. But that's just a theory I've had. And the same thing with microevolutions, macroevolutions, this idea that like we can adapt ourselves because we are self-aware. But it's not like a natural thing that's necessarily occurring over millions and millions of years. But like if you had faith, like a grain of mustard, and say your arm got blown off, could you not have the faith to have that arm regrow type thing? And that may be what quote unquote evolution is the path that our spirits take towards godhood.
So you're just talking about spiritual progression or evolution spiritually, essentially.
Yes, and that evolution is maybe a symptom of that, of spiritual growth, that our bodies and physical matter adapt to our spirits, and then what scientists are calling evolution is just like a symptom of that. And that perhaps that is how God came to be, the first God, whoever that was.
Yeah. And there's definitely a growth and a progression that's undeniable, and that we are progressing. And the term evolution has become so ambiguous that I have to define it as macro or Darwinian evolution that I disputing heavily. And I'll go more into that in a little bit about the hominids and the missing links and that huzzbaloo that's really just a lot of made up stuff. So
there's something that you said, Chad, actually, that I learned about this recently, is that Adam and Eve and all of like the first peoples might have had a gland that allows them to regenerate and live longer. And that right now it's just in our bodies, because it's got like
we don't have, because we've gotten down, we haven't gone up. People used to, and that's why they cover up evidence of giants too, is because
like we're smaller, the world,
we've gotten smaller, we've gotten weaker.
But this gland looks just like a piece of flesh nearby the spleen, but it was a lot bigger because of what the food was back then, and it was more natural, more whole. So,
And now we're in a telestial state. So
well, yeah.
Yeah, so the earth before the flood, they believe there was higher oxygen levels. We know Noah lived 900 years and Methuselah, of course. So why did they live so long? It's to be seen, but one theory is the higher oxygen level. Some people think there was a hyperbaric type situation where there was a pressure as well on the earth, because the vegetation growth would have been massive on this earth, because we find veins of coal, and coal is all made from carbon matter. So imagine each inch of coal takes about a foot of carbon matter. So if you have 20 feet of coal, that's 200 feet nearly of, we're talking biological matter that had to be compressed and buried by sediment, which is just insane to think of that thick of a peat bog or trees. So we think the earth was very lush. People were maybe a little bit larger. And the reason that the dinosaur bones we're finding are bigger than the dragon depictions, I think, is because the dragons were a bit smaller, but some of these dinosaurs were massive, right? Huge, like 100 feet long. Is because a reptile never stops growing. Like they actually found a 5-foot iguana because it lived so long. And so if these reptiles were living to be the age of Noah, then they would have got larger.
just massive. And then those ones were all wiped out in the flood.
Right. Those ones were killed, and the ones that were lived on that would have had to gone on the ark, and they would have been smaller, and they would also might have died off because of climate adjustments and things like that, and ice age. They also were hunted because they were a pest, and I believe that they were mostly living in caves because that's what we're taught about them, and they lived in swamps. Behemoth, for example, is described to have lived in a swamp and in the fens and the reeds.
Yeah, by the water.
And by the water and in river, which would have helped support its massive body. And then the Brachiosaurus has like a breathing hole on the top of its head. So almost like a crocodile, it could have stuck its head all the way underwater. So a lot different than we're taught in these Jurassic Park movies, which are so fun and awesome to watch, but they are just a Hollywood action film. That's all they are. But these dragons would have been serpentine. They would have been like a lizard or a snake that would have hidden, in my opinion, some of them, some of the different species or kinds. So all of this teaches us that the Bible's literal and that scriptures, and that's what I want to talk about in this slide, is the Bible accuracy, that Noah's flood was not just a myth. That's a real global flood. And I bet if you asked all of your friends and family if they believe in a global flood, you'd be staggered at how many don't believe it was a worldwide event, because it just seems so impossible. But the evidence really points to it. And when I fly in an airplane now, I look out the window and I stare at the landscape. I'm like, oh my gosh, there was a flood. Look at like when I come from St. George on the way to Vegas, there's this huge alluvial plain of sediment, and it's so obvious. But there's no river. There's nothing there now. There he wasn't.
He that have eyes to see, let him see. That's wild.
It's so beautiful, yeah, to see, and that it was God's power and majesty that did that. So that's why it says once again in 2 Peter 2 that knowing that there shall come in the last days scoffers, verse 3, after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? Saying, oh, Christ isn't coming back. He's not returning. All things continue as they were from the beginning. They're willingly ignorant that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. So there's a lot to be said about water on the earth, which goes into the universal model. We're taught that the earth is full of magma or lava, but we believe that there's actually huge oceans under the earth.
Yeah, and didn't they just find evidence for that there was huge oceans under the earth? I remember a year or two ago that they found there was like another layer of water underneath the crust.
Yeah, subterranean oceans. The scientists are now finding that.
You were just showing us a rock that has water inside the rock. You feel it offline, like there's a bubble.
I'll show you again. It takes a minute to find, but I don't know if we can show it to you here. But there is, in fact, water in this quartz crystal rock.
Water.
Oh, there it is. It's a water bubble.
It's hard to tell from that angle, but
How does that I wonder how that water even gets in there, you know?
So that's the interesting. Well, actually, the rocks, most rocks have water in them, and that's what we're taught in the universal model. Sometimes we think that rocks are formed from erosion or from only lava flows. But during the flood of Noah, there were tons of quartz crystals formed in geodes because of the pressure and the heat under the flood waters. This was a huge, huge event. And so I recommend everybody read the Universal Model. Just an amazing book. He spent almost 25 years. He started in 1990 and didn't publish the first book until 2017. And he literally quit his real estate business to just research the science of the flood. Where were the fountains of the deep? He can literally tell you where the water came out of the flood, which is really cool. So these are the scriptures I love. I love showing from the scriptures that it's true because, I mean, it mentions in Doctrine and Covenants, Moses, Matthew, Genesis, and even in Alma that yet it would not be by flood as were the people in the days of Noah. So this was a real event. So, and if the scriptures aren't literally accurate, then do they have the power to save us? Does Christ have the power? Did he really resurrect from the dead? And did he really perform those miracles? And so I want to err on the side of literal. And I've actually had friends and family or certain people say, I'm worried that you're getting into literalism. And I was like, whoa, thank you for that compliment. But
and that is why in the last days, we will not be able to survive without the constant guiding influence of the Holy Ghost. See, and I see this happen a lot where there's a lot of people who are very religious, very, very strict religious, and they adhere to their traditions. And this is both within and outside the church. And then when they get hit with something that they can't explain because they're relying on their traditions and what they've been taught rather than seeking to know God for yourself, then they don't have something to fall back on. And they fall into this deep, dark pit where they're doubting everything, they're questioning everything. But the truth is, you can seek revelation for yourself, and you are encouraged to. And that I can personally say, Jesus Christ is real. I know that for a fact. If you have a gun against my head, guess what? I wouldn't deny it because I know for a fact, right? And so then we don't have to worry about taking things too literally because, well, I trust the Lord. You know, I trust the Lord more than these people in the museums that are lying about there being tissue in dinosaur bones. So, yeah.
I got to testify too, real quick, because, like, I know sometimes people give us criticism here at Zion Media. Like, you got people on TikTok doing lives, talking unfortunately bad about us. And what's crazy is that we're, like, you just quoted President Nelson. Like, if there's anybody that is veering off the deep end, it's the ones that are not listening to President Nelson, or the other apostles. So you literally just said we need the Holy Spirit. And go ahead.
Well, I'll say two things. One, it's because we're the cool ones. Like, people look at us and they don't know what to think. Like, we're not some, like, no offense, some, like, come follow me podcast. Or, like, we know this stuff is real and we don't make, the culture
for it.
Our personality. We know it because we've had personal revelation experiences. And I think that wigs people out because they see, like, you look like you could be in the Elder's Corner. Then they see me, some guy who has, like, dyed silver hair and sharp teeth.
Maybe I'll start growing my hair back out to when I have shreds.
And I think it has to do with the people who have issues with these things. It is because of two things: pride and a lack of faith, because they need to be right about everything and their traditions need to be right about everything, or else they go into that deep, dark pit, right? And everything has, for me, I don't have an issue with, and you might have comments about this, with, like, the black priesthood ban. You want to know why? Not because I think the church was right. I think that was absolutely wrong. Brigham Young was wrong to ban black people from having the priesthood. But you know what? I have my own witness from Jesus Christ that this is the church that he's going to use to build up Zion, and that he is real. So I'm not worried about those things. I'm not worried about my opinions on those things being 100% infallible. But those who are relying on the arm of flesh, or as Isaiah says, They draw close to me with their lips, but their fear of me is taught by the precepts of men. Those are the ones who are actively seeking contention, because if there's people talking bad about me on an Instagram live, I have no idea who they are. I don't even care who they are. I don't know they exist. I mean, I'm sure there are people.
I always just thought stuff like the blacks in the priesthood and, even subjects like polygamy are a great test of faith, because it's like, how would you be properly tested if the things that hold the truth didn't cause you to have to rely on Jesus and the Spirit and a personal revelation to know it's true?
You know what? I'm going to say this is going to be a controversial thing to a lot of people. Because my opinion on polygamy, it's right smack in the middle. I don't agree with this side of the argument. I don't agree with that. And I have my own opinion. Because guess what? If you're looking for Joseph Smith or Brigham Young or any human, Russell M. Nelson, to be this perfect example and to follow everything that they tell you to do, you're not doing what the Lord wants you to do. The Lord wants you to seek him and with your own agency, follow what he tells you to do. And that's the whole point of coming down here. That's the whole point of this test. All right. I'm sorry, but God isn't going to put people who cannot discern in charge of planets. If the only thing you can do is rely on the arm of flesh, I don't think you're going to planet. And that's why the temple tells you that you're only anointed to be a king and a priest in heaven until you prove yourself true and faithful.
I think that too many of us are afraid to stand for the truth and to do it at the cost of our culture. And I mean, I don't know if it goes into the history of the church where we've been persecuted so much that we want to now kind of be a part of society and be a part of the community. And I mean, we give so much food and charity to the world. It's beautiful, right? What the humanitarian arm of the church does. But I worry sometimes the saints aren't willing to stand up and fight as much as they used to. Because, and we forget that we're blessed when we're persecuted. The truth is always being opposed. And like I said earlier, if I'm not being attacked in some way, you guys mentioned people going on live, and if I'm not being attacked in some way, then maybe I'm not speaking pure truth. Because when which Antichrist was it in the Book of Mormon that was saying carnal things that were pleasing to the mind? Was that Nahor or Korah?
Yeah. No, it wasn't Sherem. It was Nehor, I think.
Nehor, and he said the things that people love to hear him because they were pleasing to the carnal mind. But Jesus taught us, and I mean, I think the early saints took this a little bit too far, and they were, wanted to be martyrs. But at the same time, they were willing to stand up and testify of Christ, like you mentioned, if a gun was to my head. And blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And I've actually started taking a little bit of heat too. So I'm seeing what you're seeing, and it's an interesting place to be in. And I'm happy to stand for it. If it's truth, what happens is it feels really good in here. So I don't really care. and it makes me know I'm on the right path. And then if people are persecuting, I say, bring it on. I say that hell hesitantly, but I'm really feel the Spirit when I teach this stuff, and I really love it. So it's been fun. Let me share this slide about the miracles of Christ, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's interesting, as I was going to talk about this, we've already talked about this topic about the miracles of Christ, but I was thinking real quick about that the miracles he did in Jerusalem were so much lesser than the miracles he did in America, which is really interesting, because here we have these walking on water that are so physical, but over there he had angels come down among the children and fire. So really interesting to think about the miracles. Maybe, they believed in the earthly things and he gave them more heavenly things.
This episode is sponsored by Oraqel Code.
I'm going to run your code first. It's called your Oraqel Code. It's going to tell me everything I need to know about who you are. Miss Gloria enters this world spiritually encoded with wholeness and return. The number 10 is sacred, a blend of oneness and completion. She is a finisher, a restorer, and a vessel through which divine designs move. We're going to take this information. We're going to build a song now.
Boy in New York, I traced you in light, marked you with fire on the edge of the night. You were born to finish what others let go, a sacred flame wrapped in grace and shadow.
What do you think? You want me to send it to you?
Yes.
Did we do good?
You did.
It's a miracle, huh? It's almost as good as walking on water, if you ask me. So nice to meet you.
Thank you.
To get your Oracle code now, either click the link or take a picture of that QR code and you can get your Oracle code and your song today.
So the Dead Sea Scrolls are kind of cool because they, discovered them in Qumran. Some people say, well, don't take the Bible. Sometimes we take it a little too far and we say, well, the Bible's not translated correctly. But if it is, it's the word of God. But I love what the Dead Sea Scrolls did to the Bible is when you compare the Isaiah scroll to the Isaiah we have today, there's almost no change. The Masoretic text is nearly identical. So, and this was sitting in a cave for 1,300 years? And really cool example that our scriptures are to be trusted and can give us the gospel.
That's a cool slide. That one they showed.
Yeah, and another thing I'd like to
That's
say
a page of my book, by the way.
before we completely forget the topic. And listen, David says that there's people talking crap on TikTok lives. I have no idea who any of these people are. Haven't heard of them. Haven't seen that happen. It's not on my radar. I don't care. Right. And I think that people who feel the need to do that are beneath me and that I'm probably better than them, because if they actually genuinely had a disagreement or an argument with me, they would come to do it and I would be happy to have them on here. But that is an invitation, is that, if there are people that have any issues with me or David or anyone on Zion Media, they're free to come on anytime. I'm not afraid, right? I might have sharp teeth, but I don't bite. Okay, maybe sometimes, but only for the right people. So you're more than welcome to come on. I don't know who any of these people are. David, if you'd like to call them out by name, that's what I would do, but I don't have any names because I have no idea who you're talking about. So bring it on, right? Bring it on. That'd be awesome.
So this page here, like I said, is from my book. And I forgot to mention that you can pre-order the book. It's in print. It's on the way here. And should be here in a couple of weeks. And if you go to dinosaursinscripture.com, and there's a promotion for everyone listening, it's 20friend, the code 20friend to get 20% off. So love to get this in the hands. A really great book. We just covered a couple pages in it, but there's so much more. And like I said, 17 QR codes. So that's my plug for the book.
Is that it right there? I have it on screen. 20friend.
20friend is the code for 20% off. Yep. At dinosaursinscripture.com. And I want to talk about this topic because we did talk about evolution with dinosaurs, but I want to talk about the crux of the issue a little bit briefly. And we don't have time to go into it because we're pushing 2 hours. But I can come back and talk a little bit more about this topic. But the missing links are the hominids that they say are our great-great-great-grandpas. They've always, like Chad said, they just didn't sit well with me, right? I never had a way to answer it before. But now I have an answer for it, which is really exciting. Because this is Lucy, or Australopithecus afarensis, sitting here, standing upright with fur all over. She's one of the best missing links or hominids that they say exists. And they found the bones in Africa. And I can go into the research behind the man who discovered it, what his beliefs are, what he's promoting and pushing. But I'll just say this. She's got white eyes, fully formed feet, hair. And what on earth did they get all that information from? This is what they found. And this is the Genesis Impact documentary that talks about it all. And I'd love to put that in the link below, but this is the bones they found. Now, come on, guys. Like, not only could they not prove that she was standing upright because the hip was broken in 40 pieces and they had to glue it together, but that there's no neck bone. So it's just bizarre. No feet bones. And I can go into why they made the feet like that, because the Laetoli footprints they found 500, 1,000 miles away, dating 500 years different. But I mean, this is literally in our kids' high school biology textbooks. Our kids are right now might be learning this in school. It's in every school in America. And yet in general conference, we're taught, don't misunderstand or devalue how important you are. This is just in 2023. You are not an accidental byproduct of nature, a cosmic orphan, or the result of matter plus time plus chance. Where there is design, there is a designer. Your life has meaning and purpose. Oh, I love that. I'm getting goosebumps. Beautiful quote from General Conference. So watch the Genesis Impact video if your kids or anyone you know has like questions or doubts about what they're learning in school. It goes through each hominid one at a time, and it's a docudrama where she's asking the scientists questions. It's so awesome. Okay, really good information. Here's the QR link for that. So God created us. We did not evolve. We were created in the image of God. Shoot, I didn't even focus on the Piltdown Man. There was an entire fraud, by the way, where the Piltdown Man was for 40 years in our textbooks, and it was the teeth were filed down. They later found by looking at a microscope, and it's now, if you Google Piltdown Man, it was a complete fraud where these people, evolutionists, are trying to push their agenda and push their theory. And they did it by cheating and lying. And I believe that one day all of these will go down in the history books as complete frauds.
How do you spell that? Pill down?
Piltdown, man. Fraud.
Okay. Yeah, look it
Not
up.
only that, they have another guy called the Nebraska Man. The Nebraska Man, guys, they put together this entire hominid. It's our great grandpa, whatever. And they found one tooth. It's just so bizarre what they come up with. I'm telling you. And they push this stuff in our classrooms. It's bizarre. I don't think we have time to get into the church's stance on evolution, but I do want to share one quote from President Nelson, because we already showed the Elder Packer quote. So President Nelson said, some people, this is of 2012, some people erroneously think that these marvelous physical attributes happen by chance or resulted from a big bang somewhere. Ask yourself, could an explosion in a printing shop produce a dictionary? The likelihood is most remote, but if so, it could never hear its own torn pages or reproduce its own newer editions. So, guys, President Nelson clearly spoke here and said, the Big Bang is an erroneous thinking. Don't misunderstand this. I've actually had people tell me that they reinterpret this differently. I had someone tell me that. He's on the High Council. He said, I reinterpret this a little bit differently. How can you interpret that differently?
Yeah. And I'm always someone who's very big on like, listen, unless it's thus saith the Lord, it's not literally the Lord talking. But that being said, like, the Big Bang Theory, it's not even a scientific thing. It came from the Catholic Church. And it was this priest, I believe, who he was trying to prove that creation came from nothing. And we officially, as a church, don't believe creation from nothing. We believe that matter and spirit are both eternal. That you and I are just as old as the stars, and the stuff we are made of is just as old as the stuff God is made of, right? That it is without beginning or end of days. So
It's surprisingly scientific.
isn't something we believe in.
Like, our stance is surprisingly scientific when you look at how we
The
understand.
universe is just, it's eternal, right? And that's also where I have this idea that, like, okay, well, maybe the first intelligence to be exalted evolved somehow to get to that state through physicality, somehow learning to control the matter, becoming more intelligent and learning about the universe around it. I don't know, right? Maybe that's one of the mysteries the brother of Jared's vision answers. But what I do know is spirit and matter, it's eternal. And it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Matter
It is
not be
eternal.
controlled. Yeah, it can't be destroyed or created, right? And then we have all this dark matter and dark energy we can't see. I say that's stuff beyond the veil, probably.
So there is a group of people that think that the church doesn't have a stance on this, but I mean, we'll go into this in another episode, but we know that the creation is an important doctrine. It's so important because it goes back to our very identity of who we are and what we are. And I don't think there's anything more important. And without the creation and the fall, there would be no need for a redeemer. And so, as a matter of fact, one part I love to talk about is, and I forgot when Lehi sent his sons back to get the brass plates, he risked their lives. They were threatened to be killed, right? Why did he want to bring the brass plates back? Right when the brass plates come back, Lehi glories God, and he begins to read the brass plates, and he says, we read of the creation of the earth and our first parents who were Adam and Eve. That was really important to carry with them. And when Ammon teaches King Lamoni, he begins at the creation, and he begins to teach him of God and the creation. These are foundational principles that we can't get mingled and mixed with philosophies of men and mix.
What do we learn when that's actually super important, because we're echoing or following a pattern. What do we learn at the temple? What's the first thing when we go through the endowment session?
The creation.
Yeah.
We see that.
What did Ammon teach King Lamoni when he finally had a chance to actually teach him? And
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, it was also about how God created and first parents. And then we also have natives that have been on this channel saying that they talk about the first parents and creation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't have the quote by Elder Holland, but he says it's unfashionable to speak of Adam and Eve anymore because there's weird theories popping up. People talk about pre-Adamites, or like God putting a spirit into an evolved ape, and that's Adam. It's like, it's very clear in the doctrine. Eve was the mother of all living, and Adam was the first man. I mean, the scriptures say it. It doesn't mince words.
Yeah. And I'm certainly open to there being other people on the earth that we didn't know about, like separate creations, because we have the thing with Cain saying, well, those people out there will kill me. And you have to ask what people. And we do know that Joseph Smith said there were different creation cycles, but I don't know if that means pre-Adamites were like monkey men. It just means that we don't know the full cycle of the creation on this earth, but we know that everyone on this earth today is a descendant of Adam and Eve through Seth, right? And there's a lot of mysteries to be unfolded. So, but it's very interesting that people, regardless, whether it's future prophecies about stuff like the coming forth of Zion and these end times prophecies, or whether it's things in the past, it's a very clear pattern where people struggle and try to find excuses for these things. And it's very fascinating, because I think the most important thing in the Book of Mormon isn't even if it actually literally happened. Did it? I certainly believe so. I certainly have seen things that make me be like, okay, yeah, it legit happened. But even if the Book of Mormon was just like a channeled record, like a lot of people think Joseph Smith did, it's what it's teaching that's most important. And what's teaching is that sort of faith, right? Like that's the most important thing you get out of the Book of Mormon, is faith that if angels and miracles have ceased, it's because of our own lack of faith, and that we can know for ourselves that there is a God.
Now, I do have a couple slides on the dangers of evolutionary theory. I can show you here some of the fruits of that doctrine. Do we have time, or should we call it and do it another day? I mean,
well, yeah, let's go ahead and show it.
I would say it depends, because if you have stuff after that goes with it, well, we could do a whole video.
Yeah, we really
on the dangers of evolutionary thing if there's more content before. But if it's just something quick, we could definitely put in here. You know what I mean? It depends on how the information is spaced.
Okay, why don't I briefly go over this, and then we could do a whole nother thing on it, because there's so much more info on it.
Share your screen.
Okay, so did you see the last slides when I had the quote by President Nelson?
Yeah, we saw those, but right now you're not sharing anymore.
Okay, sorry about that. So evolution has fruits. Every doctrine or every belief has a fruit to it, right? And we're taught that by your fruits, by their fruits you shall know them.
By their fruits ye shall know them. Yeah.
And so this is one of the fruits. So this is Bill Nye the Science Guy. Did you guys have him in school?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had him too, and he was fun and he was entertaining, and he kind of made science fun. And I like to say Bill Nye's just gone nuts. So, but I think he was there all along. But he's teaching our kids some crazy stuff now because he believes evolution is undeniable. His book is called Undeniable, and he's a big front man for the theory and for the I want to say a religion, because I actually believe it is a religion. So here is what he says on Netflix. Okay, he goes on and it's called Bill Nye Saves the World, and I actually canceled Netflix since, but they're talking about how gender is a spectrum and that there's not two genders, and we're learning all this stuff through science. It's like, what are you talking about? That's not science. But this is the song they sing at the end, and it's rated PG-13, if not R, but he's singing because my sex junk is so and all these raunchy sexual things. And it's evolution ain't nothing new. So drag queen, drag king, just do what feels right. There's nothing taboo about sex stew. It's evolution ain't nothing new. So hopefully there weren't any kids watching at this segment.
Yeah, that's definitely where this idea that we're just pieces of meat certainly leads to, where we're not a spirit in a body. We are just our bodies, right? And we are just animals, which certainly isn't true. And me personally, I'm looking at Bill Nye, I'm looking at his face. I don't like that guy at all. Like, just looking at his face, like, I don't like him. I think that's the spirit, judging and reproving. But for me, when I look at guys like that and I look at their friends, I'm seeing Stephen Hawking going to a certain island. I don't like them. And yep, Stephen Hawking went to Epstein Island.
That's weird.
Yeah, especially because he's just in a wheelchair. You gotta want, like, what the heck? But I'm looking at these people, and they don't look cool. They look like losers, and they teach disgusting things, and they've just got this ugly aura around them. They don't have the image of Christ in their countenance. And I look at these people, and it just grosses me out, honestly. Like, I don't think there's anything cool or admirable about them. Like, there's so many like different types of people. There's people who are sweet. There's people who are cool. There's all sorts of good qualities and different types of positive energy. And I don't sense any positive. I'm looking at that face. I don't sense any positive energy. I don't like that guy.
I feel like he's teaching all these crazy things, and you just grow off of his face. I love it.
Yeah, like, I feel like if I see it, like, I think that's the spirit. And it's like, if I see a guy like that in the streets, I want to fight him. Like, I don't know. Okay, but it's like you can tell when you're tuned into the spirit, like, a good person from a bad person, regardless of their appearance. And it's just the energy they give off.
One other thing about Bill Nye's fruits that's really interesting is he believes he has a genetic defect in his body. So he doesn't want to have any children. So he has no children. And in the scriptures say they'll have neither root nor branch. And I've seen that in people that I know. That I know somebody that believes heavily in abortion. And this person is now in their 40s, not being able to have children and trying, but they've been focusing on their education for so long that now she's an only child and they'll never have children. And they're literally losing their posterity, and their name will end. And this is the fruit of this belief in, I'm a genetic defect in the evolutionary spectrum, and so I'm not going to have children. That's really what Bill Nye believes. So it's really sad, because my greatest blessing in my life is my children. So I find that really sad.
No, I have enough belief that if I did have a genetic condition, I would believe that through my will and through my faith, I could heal it. That's just the mindset I have. Like, I have a thyroid condition that I used to like take medication for. I don't anymore, and it was awful at first. I'm fine now. I'm full of energy. It was like an autoimmune thing, but since I've had faith, I go to the gym and I eat like a mostly meat diet. Maybe that's why my teeth are so sharp, and I feel great now. So I think that all things are possible through faith, and that's a silly little rant. But it also is interesting that says they will have neither root nor branch. That stands out a lot to me when you read Isaiah.
Yeah, it's like a curse. It really is like a curse on the people that they don't have faith. And I've seen followed the kind of the pro-life and the abortion thing, and there's a lot of doctors that are telling these parents like, you can't have this child. It's going to have these defects and all this sort of thing. And they're like, some of them will actually abort the child, which is so sad. But other parents have faith and they say, we're going to love this child no matter how that comes. We'll just love them. And it's amazing that some of them come out and they're healed. Some of them come out and they're perfectly fine after a couple months or a surgery, or they become the love of these children with Down syndrome are some of the most beautiful people, and they're just full of love. And there's a reason that God sends them down here. One other really sad thing is that the communist ideology is based in kind of a Darwinian belief. And this is the quote here, the communist core idea on this slide, that violent revolution in which the strong overthrow the weak was a natural, inevitable part of the unfolding of history from Darwinistic concepts and conclusions. Evolution affects sociology, business development, anthropology, every area of our lives. That this is from the Darwinian foundation of communism. We know that Hitler looked for an Aryan race, and he wanted to remove, long before the Holocaust, well, not long, but 4 or 5 years before the Holocaust in 1939, he was promoting eugenics. And the tree of life of eugenics is the self-promotion of human evolution. So they eliminate the lesser evolved species, and they were actually killing off all the disabled people. They killed 100 to 400,000 disabled. And this idea is totally opposite from Christ teaching us to love our neighbors and strengthen the feeble knees and the hands that hang down and lift the poor. So opposite. As a matter of fact, the actual book that Darwin wrote on the origin of species, a lot of people forget the subtitle that says, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. So I believe that this macroevolution promotes a racist ideology, that there's this lesser evolved people coming out of Africa. They call it the cradle of humanity, and that they're lesser evolved. And we've seen it in action.
I feel like Bruce R. McConkie might have believed the same thing. I'm not sure. Just saying.
I don't know, David. Actually, David, it's just that in the pre-existence, you were a fence sitter, so that's why you have that body that you have. You couldn't decide between Lucifer and the Father's side, and so they're like, okay, we're sending you down, but
I must be
gotta get one of those bodies.
I must be trying to make up for what I did in the pre-earth life by trying to start Zion Media and prepare the saints if I can. Wake up, up Zion.
People want to know what people don't understand. Like, I've seen so many, like, it's so plain if you actually understand what the Book of Mormon is talking about. The Book of Mormon is all about receiving revelation, receiving the baptism of fire and baptism of the Holy Ghost. So when it talks about a skin of blackness, it's literally talking about the skin on their loins, like their loincloth. And it talks about their garments, their skins being washed clean and being white and delightsome because they're receiving the baptism of fire. Yeah, because they would literally wear skins. And it's talking about their clothing. And it's so obvious when you read it, but then you give it to a bunch of people in the 1800s and they're like, oh, so when the Lamanites repent, their skin's going to get white.
Temple symbology, wild.
What color do you think Adam and Eve were? Oh, I think they were definitely a little bit brown, right?
I think that's a good point, because like the blonde hair, blue eyes seems to be sort of a mutation. It could be one of them was blonde, one was one was more brunette, olive skin, I don't know. And then like they branch off into different directions. Some descendants get darker hair, some get light, but I would guess they were probably in the middle. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So this, just a couple of last slides and we'll wrap up, but this one is kind of a depressing one. I'm sorry that we're ending depressing. I'll end in a good note, but the Columbine shooting was one of the first of many school shootings, right? And the interesting thing about this, I've researched deeper and deeper this over time. This is one of my older slides, but he wore on his shirt that day, natural selection. And he actually did the shooting on Hitler's birthday, and on his blog, he actually had a website back in 99, and he wrote, I want to get rid of all the stupid, weak organisms. And it's interesting because the deeper I've studied on this topic, I researched Colorado's standards of teaching. And in 1995 was the first time that Colorado required teaching of evolution in their public schools. 1995.
You know what's interesting is that it goes to show the value of life when you look on the flip side. And it's interesting too, because a lot of the folks that get radicalized are folks that get these ideas that are opposite of the Bible, opposite of life being valued and God. And I, when you look at school shootings or any kind of mass shootings today, people that are behind them tend to have these same views. Yet, like, the media will try and get you to believe that people who have beliefs on God are the ones that are shooting, but it's still the same kind of people who are believing this virus.
You want to know something else? Look at that guy. Like, do you really think that guy is like the prime evolution specimen? Like this guy was like, I don't think he was getting the ladies very much. He doesn't look that good looking. Pull him up next to me. I want you to decide who's better looking. Like, because I'm a man of God. I love Jesus Christ. Can you make my picture right next to
Yeah,
him?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, that's it. So blow him up a little bit if you can. Like, who do you think is a more evolved specimen here? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
This guy's probably been
Obviously,
down here looping on that old Everlasting Covenant program for a long time, and I came down here to help on the new Everlasting Covenant. That's what I think when I see a guy like this.
Chad, what the difference here is clearly is he's been feeding his spirit with you've been feeding your spirit with truth, and you
Exactly.
he's lost it in light.
And that's what I'm talking about with Bill Nye is like, I see this guy and it's like, you get this gross aura that's coming, but like, you can tell when people have light.
And this, yeah. And the crazy thing is, is he is also a son of God, but he's misused that gift, and he's wasted it. And it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Like you said, David, it really takes us to, the value in life. So that leads us to the last slide, which is on abortion. And like people stop valuing life. And the lady who founded Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, she actually said something that was pretty sad.
your slides look like they disappeared.
Yeah. Wasn't it that Planned Parenthood was like literally created to euthanize black babies or something?
Yeah. So Margaret Sanger, yeah, she definitely said that. She said the most serious charge that can be brought against modern benevolence is that it encourages, which is what the gospel is, right? It's loving benevolence towards your neighbor, is that it encourages the perpetuation of defectives, delinquents, and dependents. These are the most dangerous elements in the world community. The most devastating curse on human progress and expression. So she wanted to eliminate the defectives and the delinquents and eliminate them.
Well,
So
crazy. This is wild because when you look at this, letting children like what she's describing be born actually helps our spirits because we're sacrificing more to serve and these spirits still get an earthly experience regardless. But I think if we were all eating a Latter-day Chad diet, we probably wouldn't be having, spirits come into a body like that anyway. But even still, it helps us to be more humble and living like she's thinking actually condemns us even more.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Satan's plan is clearly to stop bodies and spirits from coming to earth and getting bodies. And he wants to, I mean, we can look at the, if you want to get into some stuff, the Georgia Guidestones, if you know about those, where it says, maintain a population on earth of 500 million or less in like harmony with nature is their idea. The fact is that Satan doesn't want bodies, more people on earth. He doesn't want the spirits to get the experience and to get the growth. He wants to eliminate it, and it's constantly shown in these genocides and in these wars and in this kind of this just casual attitude towards the sanctity of human life. That's so sad.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Like, and if you look at other parts of his plan, so here's something like that. I know I talked a lot about everything being like literal in the scriptures, but there is one thing that I think might be metaphorical. And when it talks about this Babylonian captivity that we are in the end times, well, might be that we're already in it, and that it's this system with the governments, with the 9 to 5, all this stuff. Like, we are literally giving more labor for less than many slaves were anciently. Legit, right? And we don't even know it. And I think Satan, if he can't keep a bunch of people down here, because guess what? He wants as few people to reach exaltation as possible, to dwell eternally with the Father in the heavens, to go no more out. Satan wants to stop that. And because the population's so good, there's so many people down here. All these people, all these captives are going to be set free. So the best thing he can do as well is either try and end it with abortion, or to keep us stuck in this loop, in this Babylonian captivity where we're distracted by the Matrix, essentially.
Yeah, and it's almost accomplishing the same goal either way, because if we're completely blind and we're completely unaware of what we're supposed to be doing here, and we can't grow and progress spiritually, then in some ways, I mean, Jesus even taught it's better for some people that they had a millstone hanging about their neck, and that they or never were born because they wasted this probation. And so Satan is fighting a good battle. He is very successful, and it is sad to see, which is why I've dedicated time to come here, which is why you guys have dedicated time, and your heart is to help make a difference and help bring more souls to Christ and help win the battle, right?
Exactly. All of us here are fighting this war against the god of this world. This guy sucks, right? And that's why I think it's silly. Like, if people are on TikTok, people who have like 20 followers or something are on TikTok talking bad about Latter-day Chad, well, it's too bad. You should be focusing on helping bringing more souls to Christ, right? I don't want people suffering eternal death. I want them dwelling with the Father eternally. So,
Amen. I'm so thankful for you guys having me on and being able to have this discussion. 2 hours and 21 minutes, baby. That's awesome. Way to go.
Well, thank you. Did in talks of wrapping up, was that, do you want to hold the rest of what you have for another episode? Because we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. That'd be fun. I could dive deeper into some of these topics.
Well, then let's do that. We've definitely had a really awesome discussion, and I'm looking forward to having you back, Jeremy. I mean, honestly, the stuff that we've talked about, I love how you focus on scripture. I love that Latter-day Chad was able to participate in this. And, I've known about a lot of what you've shared for a long time. This is some ancient answers topics, that I would be bringing in, because it was back in those days that I got to learn about you when I was doing my ancient answers before Zion Media. But, yeah, thank you for watching. For those that maybe noticed, I have Jeremy's website here that you could definitely take a look at, and this is where you would go and be able to use that code that he shared earlier. so that way you could be able to, go ahead and get a copy of your book. Jeremy's showing it right here on screen. Show that one more time, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Pull it back up. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then here's on the back, we've got testimonials from some really great, this is my draft, some really great scientists here and the truth seekers here, and really great questions that we're answering.
That's awesome. Yeah, so definitely get your copy. All you have to do is go to dinosaursandscripture.com and then click on that it was the front page, the main screen actually shows the book. You can actually click on that, it'll take you to this page that you see. So just basically back up in this video so you can see where I showed that. But yeah, thank you so much. And for those that go ahead, that watch this video, share it with your friends and family. Share it, because the more light that we can share with our brothers and sisters, our family and friends, parents and children, it will bring the vibration of this world, this planet up, so that when we're coming, to the days of when Christ comes, more and more of us, are able to be prepared for the terrestrial kingdom that Christ is going to
Exactly. We gotta build Zion and terrestrialize the kingdom. I'm actually we have a few videos as well that we got to record after this. And one of them, I'm going over some quotes by John Taylor, Wilford Woodruff, and others talking about how we must build Zion before the second coming, or else the Lord won't come. So that's absolutely right.
Please. Yes. So let's all pay attention. Let's all take the scriptures, the Book of Mormon, the Bible, all literal. And so that way we can be ready for the king to return. And so be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. And for myself, David the Lion Douglas, Latter-day Chad, and Jeremy Michelle, our dinosaur guy, we will see you next time.